10 times the size of the island nation of Jamaica, where every step you take could bring you face to face with a predatory gaze lying in wait. That is the Pantanal. Unlike the dense, mysterious Amazon, the Pantanal lays bare all that is wildest and most primal in nature. When the dry season arrives, the water sources recede, turning this place into a breathtaking arena. Millions of caimans, aggressive giant otter packs, and South American jaguars are forced to share a cramped living space. Who will dominate and who will become prey? Join us on a journey to explore Pantanal, where millions of predators collide. To understand why the Pantanal is so special, we need to view it from above. With an area of more than 65,600 square miles, about 10 times the size of the Everglades wetland in Florida, it is the largest tropical wetland in the world. Most of the Pantanal lies in central Brazil and stretches into Bolivia and Paraguay. The Pantanal is like a giant natural basin, collecting water from the surrounding highlands. But this place does not function like ordinary lands. The entire ecosystem is determined by one single factor: water. Each year, the Pantanal continuously shifts between two completely different states: the flood season and the dry season. When the water rises, many areas turn into vast inland seas. When the water recedes, grasslands, mudflats, and rivers are revealed again. This cycle dictates the habitat, feeding, breeding, and survival of nearly every animal species here. It is this dramatic change that has made the Pantanal one of the places with the highest density of predatory animals on the planet. There are few places on Earth where so many apex predators gather in such large numbers. In the dry season, the rapidly receding water forces millions of fish into shrinking ponds and river stretches. Where there are fish, there are predators. It is estimated that the Pantanal is home to around 10 million caimans. At the peak of the dry season, they gather densely around the remaining water sources, covering entire river surfaces. For them, this is an almost endless food supply. But even caimans are not the ultimate rulers. That title belongs to the jaguar, the top predator in the Pantanal food chain. In many other places, jaguars are very elusive and rarely seen. But in the Pantanal, abundant food allows them to thrive at the highest density in the world. They are large, strong, and exceptionally skilled swimmers. Not only are they unafraid of caimans, jaguars frequently hunt them with extremely powerful jaws. They can bite through a prey's skull and take down caimans right at the water's edge, a domain normally considered the territory of these reptiles. The Pantanal is also home to many other formidable predators. Packs of giant otters, often called river wolves, can reach nearly 6.5 feet in length and hunt in highly coordinated groups. They are capable of attacking caimans and even making jaguars wary. Meanwhile, beneath the murky waters and muddy bottoms, the green anaconda lies in silent ambush, waiting for capybaras or other animals to come drink. The Pantanal is not a land for the weak. The dense concentration of top predators shows that this place has incredibly rich biological resources. It is a paradise of life, but also where the law of survival is expressed most fiercely. Which animal impresses you the most in the Pantanal? When the first thunderclaps of the season rumble across the surrounding highlands, the arid kingdom immediately transforms to welcome a periodic great flood from the high mountain peaks and plateaus of central South America. Billions of cubic meters of rainwater pour down like torrents, filling the basin. With no outlet, the raging waters quickly overwhelm the land, rising 3 to 5 meters, 10 to 16 feet, and swallowing nearly 80% of the entire plains area. But this is not a natural disaster. For the Pantanal, the flood season is the season of life. Beneath the nutrient-rich, murky, silt-laden waters, a massive biological explosion begins. As the grasslands are submerged, decomposing organic matter becomes an endless food source, triggering the proliferation of billions of plankton. Hundreds of fish species, from the notorious piranhas to schools of pacu and giant catfish, begin a great upstream migration to spawn. Wherever the water goes, the fish follow. The abundance of fish in the rivers at this time not only illuminates the underwater world, but also lays the foundation for a massive food chain that is about to unfold on the surface. The river's bounty immediately alerts the skies. As if programmed into their genes over millions of years, millions of migratory birds from around the world begin flocking in, filling the air. Flocks of vibrant roseate spoonbills, retracted neck herons, and the giant jabiru storks cover the tall bushes rising above the water. They come here to nest, raise their young, and take advantage of the enormous food store right beneath them. The calls and wing beats of millions of birds create a lively atmosphere, turning isolated oases into the busiest cities in the wild world. Underwater, aquatic plants like water hyacinths, sedges, and water lilies thrive thanks to the abundant water and sunlight. They form vast mats of vegetation that help filter the water and provide shelter for young fish, insects, amphibians, and countless other creatures. At this time, the Pantanal becomes a vast flooded world where all life is interconnected through the water. It is the flood season that brings nutrients, food, and breeding opportunities to thousands of animal species, turning the Pantanal into one of the richest biodiversity paradises on the planet. The Pantanal enters a fierce competition. Every riverbank, every sandbar, every bend, or every pond can become a resource that animals must defend with their strength. These boundaries are not drawn on any map, but every inhabitant of this land clearly understands they exist. Leading this battle is the male jaguar, the lord of the Pantanal riverbanks. Unlike many cat species that live in groups, adult jaguars almost always live solitary lives. Each individual holds a large territory that can span dozens to hundreds of square miles, depending on food availability and water sources. It is not just a living space, but a factor determining its survival. Every day, the jaguar makes its familiar patrol rounds. It follows the river's edge, passing ancient tree roots, capybara trails, and sandbars where caimans often bask. Along the way, it marks its territory with urine and its distinctive scent. These chemical signals can last for days, sending a clear message to others. This land is claimed. For a jaguar, losing territory means losing a stable food source, mating opportunities, and survival advantages. Therefore, any intruder can trigger a fierce confrontation. Sometimes, two male jaguars meet at the boundary between territories. It starts with low growls and slow, deliberate movements to display strength. Both try to make the opponent retreat without fighting, but if neither yields, battle erupts. Powerful swipes with clawed paws and repeated bites to the shoulders and neck are unleashed. A clash lasts only a few minutes, but can leave serious injuries. For a solitary predator, even a small wound can make hunting difficult and push it toward death. That is why many confrontations end when one side accepts retreat, preserving its life to seek another territory. However, underwater, jaguars are not always the strongest. Here exists a united and extremely aggressive force, the giant otters. Giant otters live in family groups or packs, usually consisting of a breeding pair and several generations of offspring. They hunt fish together, care for the young, and defend their territory. A pack can control several miles of river and view it as the life source for the entire family. Unlike the silent jaguar, giant otters are very noisy. They constantly make whistles, growls, and shrill calls to communicate. At the same time, they mark areas with strongly scented secretions on grass banks and riverside trees. This is how they announce that the place is occupied. When they spot an intruder, the whole pack immediately assembles. They raise their heads above the water, call loudly in unison, and swim in formation toward the opponent. If necessary, they will charge, bite, and chase. The strength of giant otters lies not in size, but in coordination. A single individual can hardly make a difference, but the whole pack acting together creates immense pressure. Even Yacare caimans often avoid confrontation with a group of adult otters. For jaguars, facing an entire otter pack carries too many risks. A wound in the wild can mean weeks without successful hunts. Therefore, even the lord of the Pantanal sometimes has to choose retreat. On the sandbars and gravel banks along the rivers, another competition takes place almost every day. Hundreds, even thousands of Yacare caimans jostle for the sunniest spots. As cold-blooded animals, caimans cannot regulate their body temperature like mammals. They rely on sunlight to warm their bodies, boost metabolism, and aid digestion. Therefore, a dry, sunny patch of ground becomes an extremely valuable resource. As the water continues to recede, the area of basking spots shrinks. Larger caimans usually claim the best positions, forcing smaller ones to crowd around. A single act of encroaching or an accidental tail flick can instantly turn the calm atmosphere into chaos. Hisses echo across the sandbar, jaws gape to display power, headbutts and powerful snaps follow one after another. Most conflicts are only for intimidation and establishing hierarchy, but sometimes they leave wounds on the opponent's thick skin. After a few minutes of struggle, the weaker individual quietly leaves, yielding the valuable space to the stronger one. Farther out, in the higher grasslands beyond the flooded areas, another territorial battle unfolds, though much more quietly. It is the world of the maned wolf. Maned wolves possess very long legs, allowing them to easily observe and move through the tall grasses of South America. They do not live in large packs like gray wolves, but mainly operate alone or in pairs. Each individual maintains its own territory, providing sufficient food throughout the year. Every night, maned wolves patrol familiar paths, marking them with urine and strongly scented secretions. These signs help other individuals recognize boundaries and avoid unnecessary confrontations. Within that territory lies a valuable food source consisting of small rodents, birds, insects, and especially many types of fruit, including the lobeira fruit, an important part of their diet. If another individual deliberately intrudes, the territory owner will emit loud barks as a warning. Most disputes end with displays of dominance, but when food becomes scarce, chases and fights can still occur. It is not only predators that compete fiercely. Many herbivore species also battle intensely for favorable areas. Capybaras often gather in herds on grassy banks near water sources, where they have both food and escape routes when pursued. Marsh deer choose shallowly flooded reed areas to avoid enemies, while water birds compete for mudflats rich in fish and invertebrates. From rivers and gravel bars to forest-edge grasslands, the Pantanal is divided into countless invisible boundaries. There are no fences or markers, yet every species clearly understands its limits and always seeks to defend them. Because in this largest wetland on the planet, territory is not just a place to live. It is a food source, a breeding ground, an opportunity to raise the next generation, and a ticket to continued survival. Every scratch on a tree trunk, every scent mark on the grass, or every clash by the water's edge tells the same story. In the Pantanal, holding territory means holding on to life itself. If one species must be chosen to represent the power of the Pantanal, it is surely the jaguar. This is the largest cat in the Americas and the apex predator at the top of the food chain in this wetland. Over millions of years of evolution, Pantanal jaguars have adapted perfectly to the riverine environment. While most big cats dislike entering water, jaguars treat rivers, swamps, and mudflats as their hunting domain. They can swim long distances, dive skillfully, and move underwater with great agility. Their robust build, with muscular shoulders and powerful legs, allows jaguars to swim across wide rivers or wade through muddy areas while maintaining astonishing speed. Even in murky water after the rains, they can detect prey thanks to keen hearing and whiskers that sense the slightest vibrations in the water. Thus, when stepping into the river, a jaguar is no longer a land-based predator, but a true hunter of the aquatic world. What has made the jaguar famous is its extremely powerful jaws. Relative to body size, they possess one of the strongest bite forces among cats. Their short, broad skull and highly developed jaw muscles create enough pressure to pierce hard bones that many other predators cannot. While lions or tigers typically subdue prey by biting the neck to suffocate, jaguars use a different tactic. They often target the skull or head directly. Their bite is strong enough to crack the shells of many large turtles and penetrate the skulls of caimans. This trait has created some of the most famous hunting scenes in the Pantanal. Along riverbanks, jaguars often lie in wait on tree roots or dense grass, patiently watching the water. When they spot a caiman swimming close to shore or resting, they approach slowly and almost silently. At the right distance, the jaguar suddenly lunges into the water at high speed. A fierce struggle ensues for a few seconds between two of the Pantanal's top predators, but the advantage usually belongs to the jaguar. Once it finds the right position, it delivers a decisive bite to the caiman's head or nape, quickly rendering the prey defenseless. Afterward, the jaguar uses its powerful jaws to drag the caiman, weighing dozens, or even up to 220 pounds, onto the bank to eat. Few places in the world allow people to witness a big cat regularly hunting caimans as often as in the Pantanal. This also explains why the jaguar is considered the true lord of this wetland, a predator powerful enough to dominate both land and water. Are you impressed by the jaguar's strength? Feel free to leave a comment. If the jaguar is the supreme ruler at the top of the Pantanal food chain, the Yacare caiman is the most numerous army dominating the rivers and swamps here. The Pantanal is considered the place with the largest concentrated caiman population in the world. estimated at around 10 million individuals. The prosperity of this army comes from a body structure honed perfectly over millions of years for supreme ambush hunting. The entire body of the Yacare caiman is a weapon hidden underwater. The most valuable evolutionary feature is the eyes and nostrils positioned high on the top of the head. This clever mechanical design allows them to submerge their massive bodies beneath the murky water, perfectly camouflaged like a drifting rotten log, while still being able to breathe and observe the surface world with maximum clarity. For birds coming down to drink or capybaras that unwittingly approach the river's edge, the water surface appears very calm, but right below lies a predator patiently waiting for its moment. They can remain motionless for hours, waiting for the precise instant when prey comes close enough. When the opportunity arises, their jaws filled with sharp teeth snap shut at incredible speed, leaving many prey with no time to react. In the Pantanal ecosystem, Yacare caimans are both predators and potential prey. They commonly hunt fish, water birds, and small riverside animals. But in the Pantanal, there is still one species capable of hunting them in return: the jaguar. Beyond being predators, Yacare caimans play an important role in maintaining ecosystem balance. They help control populations of many fish and aquatic species, preventing any one group from growing excessively and allowing the ecosystem to maintain its diversity. With their enormous numbers and presence across nearly all rivers and swamps of the Pantanal, Yacare caimans have become an indispensable part of the world's largest wetland. This underwater army, through its sheer abundance and instincts, serves as the anchor keeping the ecosystem of this inland ocean in perfect balance. In the midst of the Pantanal, where countless fearsome predators gather, the capybara is one of the most important species for ecosystem balance. It is the largest rodent in the world. An adult can weigh more than 130 pounds. With their rounded bodies and gentle nature, they seem like easy targets for every predator. But to survive in this dangerous land, capybaras have developed highly effective survival strategies. First, they live in herds. A group can consist of several dozen individuals, with some always on lookout duty, while the herd grazes or rests. As soon as a danger sign appears, such as a jaguar's silhouette or unusual movement underwater, a warning call sounds. Immediately, the entire herd rushes toward the river or swamp to hide. Water is the capybara's safest refuge. Although they look rather heavy on land, they are excellent swimmers thanks to webbed toes. They can stay submerged for several minutes, exposing only their nostrils above water to breathe, making it very difficult for predators to detect them. As herbivores with large numbers and good reproductive rates, they convert the abundant plant resources of the wetland into food for predators. In other words, capybaras are the bridge transferring energy from grasses and plants up to higher levels of the food chain. For jaguars, an adult capybara is a highly nutritious meal and much easier to hunt than a caiman. For green anacondas, they are ideal-sized prey for an underwater ambush. Young capybaras are always in the sights of Yacare caimans when they enter the river to feed or swim through shallow waters. For this reason, capybaras are considered one of the most important links in the Pantanal ecosystem. If their numbers decline sharply, the food supply for many predators will decrease as well, leading to imbalance throughout the food chain. Though they frequently become prey, capybaras still help sustain life for countless other species. In the wild world of the Pantanal, sometimes the most important species are not the top predators, but the links that connect the entire ecosystem together. In the intricate network of rivers in the Pantanal, there is a predatory family famous for its unity and ferocity. They do not hunt alone, but always act as a tightly organized team. That is the giant otter, the species that researchers call by the impressive name river wolves of South America. As the largest otter species in the world, they can reach nearly 6.5 feet in length and are among the most efficient hunters in the Pantanal ecosystem. When hunting, the pack divides to surround schools of fish, driving them into shallow water before attacking one by one. Their smooth coordination yields very high hunting success rates. The main diet of giant otters consists of fish, but they also catch crabs, water snakes, and other aquatic animals. Giant otters are also known for their highly aggressive nature when defending territory and young. If they detect an intruder, the whole pack simultaneously emits loud calls, surfaces, and closes in to drive the opponent away. Even Yacare caimans often avoid confrontation with a large group of otters. In many cases, they are willing to launch collective attacks to protect their living area or family. For jaguars, giant otters are not ideal prey. A single jaguar can pose a danger to an isolated otter. However, when facing an entire united and aggressive otter family, jaguars often choose to avoid unnecessary conflict to reduce the risk of injury. Besides their role as predators, giant otters help maintain ecosystem balance by controlling populations of many fish species in the rivers. Their presence is a sign that the water remains rich in resources, and the habitat is relatively intact. In the wild world of the Pantanal, strength does not only come from size or powerful jaws. Sometimes, it is the unity and coordination of an entire family that creates a force that even top predators must respect. Hidden beneath water, hyacinth mats, aquatic grasses, and thick mud in the Pantanal is one of the world's most famous reptiles, the green anaconda. This is the heaviest snake species on the planet, with adult females that can weigh more than 440 pounds, reaching lengths of 16 to 23 feet, and some individuals even larger. Their massive bulk makes them move rather slowly on land, but in water, it becomes an astonishing advantage. The Pantanal is considered one of the most ideal environments for green anacondas. The intricate river network, seasonally flooded grasslands, and abundant food sources create perfect conditions for these giant snakes to thrive. During the flood season, thousands of square miles of grassland turn into inland seas, expanding their range of activity. In the dry season, as water recedes, animals concentrate around remaining lakes and rivers, unintentionally creating ideal ambush points for anacondas. What is most terrifying about the anaconda is not speed or strength, but its ability to disappear into the surroundings. Its olive green skin, interspersed with large black spots, allows it to blend perfectly with the murky water, mud, and shadows of aquatic vegetation. When lying motionless underwater, with only its eyes and nostrils protruding to observe and breathe, it looks no different from a drifting rotten log. For many animals, the Pantanal water surface appears completely peaceful. A herd of capybaras comes to drink after hours of grazing. A marsh deer wades through shallow water to reach the grass on the other side. Flocks of carefree waterbirds hunt fish along the riverbank. But right beneath that murky water, a giant predator may have been waiting for a very long time. Anacondas are not long-distance pursuit hunters like jaguars or maned wolves. They are masters of ambush tactics. An adult anaconda can remain still for hours, even longer, barely moving. Their slow metabolism allows them to expend very little energy while waiting. All that patience is traded for a single opportunity. When prey enters the right range, the attack happens with speed completely opposite to their usual sluggishness. In an instant, the snake's head strikes forward. Its curved, sharp, backward-pointing teeth immediately grip the victim's body, preventing escape. Right after, the anaconda's massive body quickly coils around the prey in multiple tightening loops. In nature, the anaconda's diet is very diverse. They can hunt large fish, waterbirds, capybaras, marsh deer, peccaries, and many other riverside animals. Larger individuals can even subdue small or young Yacare caimans if given the chance. This makes most animals in the Pantanal stay alert when approaching water sources. Many people believe anacondas kill prey by crushing all their bones. However, modern studies show this is not entirely accurate. Their coils mainly affect the circulatory system. Each time the prey exhales or struggles, the muscular coils tighten a little more, restricting blood flow to the heart and brain. When blood and oxygen are no longer sufficiently supplied, the prey quickly loses consciousness and can no longer resist. Once the victim is confirmed motionless, the anaconda begins a task even more difficult than the hunt, swallowing the prey whole. They always swallow, starting from the head so the limbs or fur fold naturally. making the process smoother. Swallowing can take dozens of minutes, even hours for large prey. Afterward, their highly acidic digestive system gradually breaks down meat, organs, and most bones. Digesting a large meal consumes a great deal of energy, but also provides enormous nutrition. An adult anaconda that has eaten well may not need to hunt for many weeks or even months, depending on the meal size and environmental conditions. Although one of the most formidable underwater predators, anacondas do not sit at the top of the food chain. Young individuals can become targets for many predatory birds, caimans, or carnivorous mammals. Even adults are not entirely safe from jaguars. In the Pantanal, there are many records of jaguars ambushing and subduing large anacondas when they come ashore to rest or move through shallow waters. This shows that even the strongest predators can become prey in a complex ecosystem. The presence of anacondas also helps maintain ecological balance. By hunting medium and large animals, they help regulate populations of many species in the wetland, preventing any one group from growing excessively. They are an important link in the complex predatory network of the Pantanal, where jaguars, Yacare caimans, giant otters, and anacondas coexist and compete. The Pantanal is not only the world of jaguars, caimans, or green anacondas. This vast wetland is also home to thousands of other animal species. Each has its own ways of adapting to survive in an environment that constantly shifts between flood season and dry season. Standing out against the Pantanal sky is the hyacinth macaw, the largest flying parrot species in the world. Whenever a flock glides over palm groves, their vibrant cobalt blue plumage reflects under the sunlight, creating one of the most iconic images of this land. The patches of yellow skin around the eyes and base of the beak further highlight their unique beauty against the South American sky. But beauty is only a small part of what makes the hyacinth macaw special. What helps them survive is their extremely powerful beak, considered one of the strongest in the bird world. Its bite force is enough to crack palm nuts with shells as hard as stone that most other animals cannot handle. This special food source helps hyacinth macaws reduce competition with many other bird species. When seasonal food sources become scarce, these energy-rich palm nuts still provide enough nutrition to sustain them. This parrot species is also famous for its lifelong pair bonding behavior. Once paired, they often stay together for many years, even for most of their lives. Both partners build nests in large tree cavities, take turns incubating eggs, and care for the chicks. During the breeding period, they continuously fly out to forage and return to the nest, creating near-perfect coordination. Because they need large, old-growth trees for nesting, the existence of hyacinth macaws also reflects the health of the Pantanal ecosystem. When the forests along the wetlands are well preserved, this bird species has the conditions to continue breeding and thriving. flooded grasslands, the marsh deer is one of the largest herbivore species in the Pantanal. They often appear at dawn or dusk, quietly moving through tall grasses in search of tender leaves and aquatic plants. The life of the marsh deer is always tied to danger. Each time they step to the water's edge to feed, they can become targets for jaguars lying in ambush in the thickets, or Yacare caimans motionless beneath the surface. A single moment of carelessness can end their lives. To adapt to this unique environment, marsh deer have much longer legs than many other deer species. Their hooves can spread wide when stepping on soft ground, helping distribute body weight and prevent sinking deep into the mud. This allows them to cross flooded areas where many other animals struggle. Their highly developed sense of smell and hearing also help marsh deer detect danger from a considerable distance. When they sense something unusual, the herd immediately raises their heads to observe and quickly retreats into dense reed thickets. The continuous changes between flood and dry seasons shift the locations of grassy areas, forcing them to move in search of food. That is why marsh deer are always the wanderers of the Pantanal, adapting to the constant transformations of this land. Farther away, in the grasslands and open woodlands, the giant anteater lives a completely different lifestyle. With its long snout, strong claws, and a tongue that can extend up to 24 inches, they are experts at hunting ants and termites. When they find a termite mound or ant nest, giant anteaters use their claws to break open the hard outer layer. Then, their long tongue covered in sticky saliva repeatedly flicks in and out at high speed to capture thousands of insects in just a few minutes. Interestingly, despite their efficient hunting, they have almost no teeth and swallow food whole. When talking about symbols of the Pantanal, the Jaguar stork cannot be overlooked, the largest wading bird in South America. Standing over 4.5 feet tall with a wingspan of nearly 10 feet, they are one of the most recognizable birds in this wetland. Their striking white plumage combined with a black neck and distinctive red skin patch gives Jaguars a majestic appearance across the vast swamps. From afar, their tall silhouette and motionless stance resemble sentinels watching over the entire wetland. Jaguars are incredibly patient hunters. They can stand still for dozens of minutes in shallow water, barely moving, when they spot fish, frogs, or other aquatic creatures moving. Their long, strong beak suddenly strikes downward at high speed to seize the prey. During breeding season, Jaguars build enormous nests on tall trees or prominent spots in the plain. A single nest can be used and repaired for many consecutive years, with new branches and materials added each season. From above, they survey the surrounding area, protecting their young while avoiding predators. The presence of Jaguars is also considered a sign of a healthy wetland. Where there is still plenty of fish and the natural environment is maintained, one can still encounter the broad wings of this iconic bird species. Every hunt in the Pantanal ends the same way. One creature perishes so that other life can continue. But the story does not end there. Once the predators leave, a special force appears to complete the final part of nature's work. In the sky, dark shapes begin circling in wide spirals. They are not looking for live prey, but for animal carcasses that have just died. These are scavenging birds like the turkey vulture and the Yacare, the silent cleanup crew of the Pantanal. Lacking the speed of jaguars or the power of caimans, they possess very special abilities. Turkey vultures have an extremely keen sense of smell, capable of detecting the odor of decomposing carcasses from great distances, even when hidden by vegetation. Meanwhile, Yacares, with their sharp eyesight and adaptable nature, quickly arrive at fresh hunt sites to take advantage of remaining scraps. Their work is not simply about eating. They help keep the ecosystem clean and balanced. During the flood season, many small animals may die from flooding. In the dry season, as ponds shrink, numerous fish and aquatic creatures become trapped and perish under the intense sun. If these carcasses accumulate too much, they become breeding grounds for bacteria and degrade environmental quality. Scavenging birds solve this by quickly consuming most of the dead biomass before it decomposes heavily. In particular, vultures' digestive systems have extremely high acidity, capable of destroying many types of bacteria and pathogens that other animals cannot handle. This significantly reduces the risk of disease outbreaks in the wild. Once the last pieces of flesh on a carcass disappear, the remains are further processed by insects, microorganisms, and other decomposers, returning nutrients to the soil and water. From there, grasses grow again, feeding herbivores and continuing to nourish predators higher up the chain. In the Pantanal, death is not the end. It is a link in nature's cycle, where every source of energy is reused, and the silent cleanup crew is the force that keeps this cycle running uninterrupted for millions of years. When the rainy season ends, the Pantanal undergoes a completely different transformation. Water levels begin dropping day by day, revealing mudflats, grasslands, and riverbanks that had been submerged for many months. In a short time, the water surface area can shrink by about 80%, turning the vast inland ocean into countless isolated ponds and channels. This change creates a phenomenon that ecologists call the bottleneck effect. Millions of fish and countless aquatic creatures are forced into the remaining water bodies. Food sources concentrate in an ever-shrinking space, drawing every predator to the area. The once calm lakes quickly become true battlefields. Thousands of Yacare caimans crowd along the shores, waiting for schools of fish to swim by so they can deliver lightning-fast snaps. In some places, the density of caimans is so high that they nearly cover the entire water surface. On land, jaguars enter their most productive hunting season of the year. With prey having fewer hiding spots, they only need to patiently ambush at watering paths or riverbanks to wait for opportunities. Capybaras, marsh deer, and even young caimans all become targets. Beneath the murky water and mud, green anacondas silently hide among aquatic grasses and water hyacinth mats. They do not need to chase prey, because prey eventually has to come to the few remaining water sources. Meanwhile, giant otter families continuously patrol the rivers to hunt fish. The dense concentration of food allows them more successful hunts, but it also causes predator species to frequently encounter and compete with one another. The dry season therefore becomes the most brutal time in the Pantanal. As the water recedes, the distance between predator and prey shrinks. Every remaining pond turns into a survival arena, where life and death unfold hour by hour under the harsh South American sun. Amid fierce hunts and the constant shifts between flood and dry seasons, a new generation is still born. But in the Pantanal, being born is only the beginning. The greatest challenge is how to survive until adulthood. For jaguars, raising young is the mother's sole responsibility. After giving birth, the mother takes her cubs to secluded areas in the forest or dense thickets to avoid attention from other predators. In the first few months of life, jaguar cubs are completely dependent on their mother for food and learning survival skills. Dangers come not only from caimans or anacondas. Strange male jaguars can also pose a threat to the cubs. Therefore, the mother remains constantly vigilant, ready to move dens multiple times to protect her young from every risk. Capybaras, on the other hand, choose a completely different strategy. Instead of caring for offspring individually, many mothers gather the young into large groups like a communal nursery. While some adults go out to forage, others stay behind to keep watch, helping detect jaguars, caimans, or other predators early. Thanks to their herd lifestyle, the survival rate of young capybaras improves significantly. However, they still constantly face countless dangers whenever they enter the water or leave the protection of the group. For many bird species in the Pantanal, breeding season is also a race against time. They must build nests, incubate eggs, and raise chicks before water levels change or food becomes scarce. A single heavy rain or prolonged drought can cause an entire breeding season to fail. The Pantanal's nature is always generous in creating life, but extremely harsh in selecting those who can survive. Only a small portion of the young born each year reach adulthood. The rest become links in the food chain or cannot overcome the environmental changes. In this land, every adult individual is proof of a survival struggle that began from the very first days of life. Some places are merely animal habitats, but the Pantanal is more than that. It is like a giant natural laboratory, where millions of years of evolution have created rare records in terrain, animal numbers, and biological productivity. Each flood season and each dry season is a test, forcing every creature to adapt to survive. And that has made the Pantanal one of the most special ecosystems on Earth. The Pantanal is considered the place with the highest jaguar density in the world, especially along the Cuyaba River and food-rich wetland areas. Thanks to abundant nutrition from fish, caimans, and capybaras, many individuals here grow significantly larger and stronger than populations in the Amazon rainforest. Underwater lies an even more impressive record. researchers estimate the Pantanal is home to around 10 to 20 million Yacare caimans, forming the largest caiman population on the planet. In the dry season, as water recedes, they gather densely around remaining lakes, turning many river stretches into literal caiman seas. The Pantanal is also one of the most important areas for giant otters. While populations of this species have declined in many parts of South America, the Pantanal still maintains large, stable family groups. They have become powerful predators, playing a key role in the river ecosystem. What is astonishing is that the Pantanal occupies less than 1% of the South American continent's land area, yet maintains one of the highest biological productivity food webs in the world. The secret lies in the water cycle. Flood season brings silt and nutrients, fueling explosive growth of plants, insects, and fish. In the dry season, receding water concentrates food sources in smaller areas, creating opportunities for predators to exploit them efficiently. Thanks to this special cycle, the Pantanal can support a very high density of animals, from capybaras, marsh deer, and other herbivores to jaguars, Yacare caimans, giant otters, and green anacondas, all form a food chain that operates with rare efficiency in nature. Thus, the Pantanal is not only the world's largest wetland, but also proof of life's remarkable adaptability and creativity. Here, every rising or falling water season continues to write new records of nature. Over millions of years, the Pantanal has undergone many natural fluctuations. Flood seasons follow dry seasons. Water rises and then recedes, creating a cycle that keeps the ecosystem balanced. However, in recent decades, this familiar rhythm has been gradually changing under the impact of climate change and human activities. One of the biggest challenges is increasingly prolonged and severe droughts. Late or low rainfall causes many areas to no longer flood as before. Lakes shrink faster, water flow decreases, and many swamps become dry for extended periods. When water disappears, another danger emerges: wildfires. Layers of dry grass and accumulated vegetation over many months become enormous fuel sources. A single spark can cause flames to spread rapidly with strong winds. In recent years, the Pantanal has witnessed record wildfires that burned millions of acres of vegetation and destroyed habitats for countless animals. Many individuals do not die from the fire itself, but from loss of habitat and food sources afterward. Young animals, bird nests, or slow-moving species have almost no chance to escape the sea of flames. Besides climate change, the Pantanal faces growing pressure from human activities. Large-scale cattle ranching alters the natural landscape in many areas. Expanding pastures, building infrastructure, and land development fragment animal habitats into smaller pieces. Water sources are also threatened by pollution from agricultural activities and chemicals flowing down rivers from upstream. These substances can affect water quality, fish populations, and the entire food chain dependent on the Pantanal's river system. Meanwhile, the rapid growth of tourism creates additional challenges. Bringing boats deep into animal living areas, approaching wild individuals too closely, or poorly planned construction can disrupt the natural behavior of many species. These changes particularly affect top predators like jaguars and green anacondas. Jaguars need large territories and stable prey sources to maintain their population. When the environment is fragmented or food decreases, they are forced to travel farther and are more likely to come into conflict with humans. For anacondas, survival depends heavily on swamp areas and river systems. If these areas continue to shrink or become polluted, their ambush and breeding sites will gradually disappear. The future of the Pantanal is therefore not just the story of a wetland, but also the story of balance between nature and humanity. Because when the water cycle changes, it is not only jaguars, caimans, or anacondas that are affected. The entire web of life that has existed for millions of years here also faces an unprecedented challenge. If you love wildlife documentaries and want to continue exploring other mysterious lands on Earth, don't forget to hit like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss future journeys. Please leave a comment and let us know which animal in the Pantanal impressed you the most, or which wildland you want to explore in the next episodes. Every opinion from you will be motivation for the channel to continue bringing even more authentic and captivating nature stories.